One thing she says is, I have even gotten used to saying the number out loud and not hiding from it. We now have a new digital scale to help us both with our morning routines, her and her husband. And one thing she kind of compares this to is your checkbook. So you balance it out. So you have to know that number. You need to know your balance. You need to know everything that you've taken out of that to leave with the next balance, right? So all the things that you pay and buy, whatever. Well, you need that beginning point of whatever your weight is right now at this moment in order for you to know what you need to do, how much you need to take here, and so you can make it to your next goal or to your final goal. And it's about helping us take control of where we are at. We want, like she says here, I want to live a long and healthy life. So in order to do that, we need to become friends with our tools. So when we see that number on the scale, we need to just take it for what it is, write it down, talk about it with somebody if you can, or if you want to. Make it a journaling entry, something that'll keep it in your mind so that you know, okay, this is where I'm at and this is where I want to be. What do I have to do? And then make your goals. Let's see, I'm going to try to see how far. Okay, this one is not such a long chapter, so I think I can get it done in this video here. Now, one thing that she does share that I think for all us women is, she says, our women's weight is never stable. We go through our monthly cycles. One day we feel bloated, the next day our skin is all wrinkled. This morning I got up and weighed myself. Needless to say, I was shocked to see I was up 1.5 pounds. So I pulled out my body clutter control notebook. It is just a little notebook that I write in to keep up with the things I'm doing each day to bless my body. So this is something I think would be very helpful. I'm doing a tracker system, but I think there's something more to even having this in your body clutter journal. She's looking at what did she do yesterday. So she had no walking, no stretching, no activity. Let's say you missed a full meal, and she missed her snack. She didn't take her vitamins until later in the day. And then she talks about not cooking, but they went to the Chinese buffet. She had written down everything that she had eaten, so she was able to look at this, right? And here she says, okay, so she had, which would have been a meal with her raw vegetables, honey mustard dressing, 4 croutons, 1 egg in the salad. So there's her meal, right? But then she talks about going back for sushi and seaweed salad and, soy sauce, wasabi, wick chicken wings and crab meat casserole. Like, it's a buffet, right? So now that she saw the choices that she made by looking back at her notebook, she realized there's no reason to be mad at the scale. The scale didn't change. It was her own choices that got her where she was. And that's the same thing for us. We know there's certain times of the month, like she says, with cycles. As we get older, there's perimenopause, menopause. If you deal with certain illnesses that cause inflammation, all of that comes into play. But we know if we take the time to know our bodies and be in tune with ourselves, we know when we're having a flare-up of an illness. We know when we're not eating right. We know when we're not doing the things we're supposed to. And I think writing down what we're eating, writing down what we're doing, tracking that so we can see, well, I was supposed to walk or I was supposed to do this and I didn't do that. So that's why my scale is the way it is. It's my choices. And that kind of keeps us accountable to ourselves. And if we're honest, if you were honest in this notebook, because no one ever has to see it, right? Then we can use this to teach us how to make the good choices. So we're looking at all the things that we've done and we're like, well, I shouldn't have done that. I know better. And I'm seeing the effects of it though, because if we're not keeping track of what we're doing, we're going to forget what we did yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever. And then we see the scale and we're like, well, I can't believe that, and I did this and I've been moving because today I did all of this stuff, right? But when we look back at it, we see, well, I didn't do all these things for these days, or I did these things that were not good for me. Then we know, okay, it's my choices, right? It's what I'm doing. And we can't play that little game of, I don't know what's happening, because we're writing it down. And we can continue to lie to ourselves if we want to, but it's written there for us. And it's going to be a lot harder to forget what we were doing that caused us to gain the body clutter. And I think it's just about, keeping ourselves accountable, keeping ourselves on track. And so now in this next section of the book, it's Leanne talking. So it's Fly Lady in the first, Marla, and now it's Leanne. And she's talking about how procrastination is the mother of all guilt. Because we know we're supposed to be doing something, right? We know we should go walking. We know we should clean our house. We know we need to get up and take a shower and get dressed and do our stuff. And we're just, I don't want to. I don't feel like it. It's a day for this. And it's good to have rest days, but we also have to take care of ourselves on rest days. So if we're dealing with body clutter, right? So a walk, if it's on your rest day, but you still feel like your body's hanging, and get up and take a walk. Take a shorter walk than you normally do on the days that you do this. Or do something that's going to help your healing. So you can do a relaxation, like put on a mask, or soak your feet, take a bath, do things that are still going to help you release the clutter out of your mind so that you can release the body clutter. And that will keep your body from being in the fight or flight mode all the time, because that's survival mode. And it's the same thing that I think our body does when we starve it. It goes to survival mode, which means, hey, they're starving me. I'm going to build up some body clutter because I don't know what's happening. And I struggle with being in fight or flight all the time. It's very rare that I feel that I'm out of that. And so there's some techniques that I'm trying to implement. And I do want to share more about that when in a video, hopefully soon. I don't have any of those in my habit tracker, of course, except for deep breathing. And of course, throughout June, from the beginning, so from the 1st, and what are we? We are the 13th today, I believe. Something like that. Yeah, we're the 13th. So I have not once written down deep breathing. Now, granted, I think I did do it one day, the day that I had therapy. So that probably would have been the 9th, because I was reminded of that. But I didn't do much of it. Like my walking, I have a few days where I've actually actively gone out to do the walking. Now I've gotten walking in if I go shopping. If I remember and have my phone with me, which normally when I go shopping I do, so it'll track my steps. They're not always that great, but I notice, okay, you did a little bit better today. You went, if I go out that I have to go shopping or have appointments, I get more steps out there sometimes than when I'm home, because I don't actively go around walking. And that's where I need to pick up the pace. Even like my gratitude journal. I was looking at this and I started one recently, and it's a tiny one because I had a tiny one last time, and I found another really small notebook to do this with. And if I can find it, I'll share it with you. But it's just a really tiny little, oh, here it is. It's this little tiny one here. So compared to one of these small ones, it's just a little tiny thing. So as I'm looking in here, I have the 1st, the 7th, the 10th, and that's it. That's it. And that was one of my habit trackers, gratitude. That's a way for us to get rid of mind clutter. And, like there's just a lot of things on here that I'm not marking. Now, some of them I've done and just haven't gone back to mark them, like my morning pages. I've pretty much done those throughout every day. Journaling some days. But like even reading books I have on there, I haven't done that. My sleep, I was supposed to be tracking my sleep. I haven't done that either. And it's a lot of habits that I'm trying to build, but because I procrastinate on getting it in here the next day, like I need to get it in here by the end of the day. I need to be able to look back and say, what did I do today? Because if I wait a couple days, what did I do? I don't remember. And if I didn't write it in my morning pages, or I didn't write it in my journal, I'm not going to remember. It's just, especially these types of things that are very specific. Now, granted, the gratitude stuff, I can look in this. If I journaled, I can look in my journal. If I did morning pages, but did I do deep breathing? I don't remember. Did I do some walking? Well, I know I walked around a little bit, but did I actually actively walk my, the walk that I'm putting in, the 15 minutes, the 20 minutes, whatever it is? And unless I look at these things or have it written down, I'm not going to remember. So it's a habit to continuously do the things that you said you were going to do. Don't procrastinate on these things. One thing that Leanne says is when the guilt of this, procrastination comes along, when it becomes a lifestyle, we lose the joy of living because we're just waiting and waiting and waiting because we don't want to do it. We don't feel like doing it, whatever the reason is. And like she's talking about, have you ever thought of constipation as being your body's way of procrastinating? I mean, maybe. So when we procrastinate, we're not taking care of things that need to be done. They've been put on the back burner. Yet we know that the nagging feeling that procrastination brings is disrupting our peace of mind and taking away from the fullness of life. That's exactly what constipation is too. And it's not something, like she says, it's not something that we talk about. We just kind of know it's there, but I don't want to tell you I'm procrastinating. I don't want somebody to know that I didn't do what I said I was going to do. And if you're not there with me, seeing everything I do, you'll never know. I mean, it's the only thing that maybe people will see is if you tell them that you are trying to lose weight and they notice, oh, you haven't changed much. Nothing's changing. They'll see that part, but they're not going to know exactly what else you're procrastinating on. What is it that you're not doing for yourself? Self-care. What is it that you've said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to eat correctly, I'm going to do whatever, because those things, not everyone's going to be sitting there with you watching what you're doing. So you have to keep yourself accountable. You have to make good choices for yourself. So here she's talking about getting our fiber in, right? So she's saying there's no fiber in white rice, white flour, white bread. So eliminate these white things and replace them with brown things: brown rice, whole wheat flour, and whole wheat bread. So there's one thing that you can do to get some fiber. And then she talks about reading the fiber counts of the food that you buy and be aware that you need 25 grams of fiber a day. So knowing that, if we read the labels like they've talked about in previous chapters, we'll kind of get a better idea of what we're having. And, eating a ton of veggies, doing those things that we know are good for us. Pick out the veggies that you love the most. Now she's at the one thing that she does share here is talking about making a salad, but instead of just making it with iceberg lettuce, use the leafy greens. Use all the darker green leafy cruciferous vegetables in your salads. Do orange vegetables. Sweet potatoes are good because they're lower in carbs than the white potatoes, and they're by more than half, and they're full of fiber. So these are things that we could do. Just find things that you know of. Do some research. I can give you some of the things that she shares here. The top 11 fiber foods are beans. Okay, so beans, a musical fruit. So she's talking about black beans has over 19 grams of fiber. And this is something you can do to turn the bean music off, is by adding a bit of ginger into your beans. I've also heard that if when you make your you make a lot of pinto beans, if you put some bay leaves in, like maybe 1 or 2 in your crock pot when you're making them, it's supposed to help that as well. And then you take them out when you're going to eat them. Bran, peas on earth. Oh, should play with words. Peas on earth. Corn, strawberries or berries in general, sweet potatoes, figs, broccoli, and oats, an apple a day, and almonds. Those are the top 11. I will try to get a picture of this and add it to this video so you can look at that and kind of read through what she says about each of them. And so that's just one part of our equation, right? So we need fiber and we need lots of water. We need to be hydrated, and not a can of soda, tea, or coffee, especially soda because it has so much more in there, sugars and all kinds of other things. Tea, most people will add sugar or something like that. I like my iced tea unsweetened. I do not like any sugar in mine, but even at that, we still need plain water, just our water. And getting to know your body, getting to know the signs of if you're having enough water, like checking the color of your urine. I know that's TMI, but it's in the book, and it's something that is very important because it tells us things. And one thing that she shares here is the number one cause of cancer death for women is not breast cancer. It's colon cancer. For the most part, you can prevent this awful disease by being a defensive fiber eater and making sure that your plumbing is working. You could do this. You've heard the expression, garbage in, garbage out. So if we're putting garbage in our body, garbage is coming out of our body. And the problem with that is when we have garbage, all of our systems are not going to work correctly, and we're going to get body clutter. We're going to have issues with our stomachs. We're going to have headaches. We're going to have all sorts of different things. And there's very simple choices that we can make, baby steps to correct those things. Now for your body clutter mission. Write down how you feel when you get on a scale. Just get it out. When do you start to feel this way? Look at your scale as a tool. Use it every day. Use it every day to see if what you are doing to release your body clutter is working, or if you need to change the amount of fiber in your diet, water consumed, or you're moving. I will also put a picture of this at the end of the video. Oh, yikes. Alrighty then. So that is our chapter 11, and our next chapter is on plateaus. And then that's another shorter chapter. Chapter 13 is the anger and fear and food. And then we move on to our last chapter, 14, if you don't do it, who will? And that is a short chapter as well. And it's basically, that chapter is written like letters from Leanne and Marla to the readers. And I will hopefully get to those pretty soon. I'm going to try to get quite a few of these videos done today because the rest of this month for me is filled with more appointments. And hopefully next month won't be so crazy. I know I will have my standing Monday appointments. But other than that, it should hopefully just be as needed and nothing that I really have to do. I'm hoping anyway, because this last 2 months have been really insane. So thank you for joining me, and I hope that something out of this chapter has blessed you, encouraged you, given you some information that can help you along your healing journey. If you have any suggestions or any ideas about things that were said in this video, things that I shared from the book, please leave them in the comments below, and let's have a conversation about body clutter, our mind clutter, things that you do that help you get your fiber and your water and your movement. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. God bless you. Bye.